What's up guys, welcome back to another video. If you haven't been able to tell based on the title, today I'm going to be showing you how I paint hair using my Procreate brushes. If you're interested in giving it a try with the exact brush pack, make sure you click the link down below in the description. I don't really see a lot of demonstrations how to paint like black people hair, so I'm going to be demonstrating how I do that using my Procreate brush pack. But before we do anything, make sure you click the like and subscribe button, stay updated for new content, to support your favorite YouTuber, to support a black-owned business.
Please! Please! No!
Great, so here to get started, we already have our model drawn with the side profile. She's hairless, so for our first hairstyle, let's do Bantu knots. Step 1, let's get on a new layer. Then with a brush of our choice, we're going to go ahead and start mapping out the parting of the hair. This is sort of like a grid. Then let's turn down the opacity a bit. Then next on a new layer, fill in your desired hair color. Mine's going to be black. And this doesn't have to be neat at all. Matter of fact, towards the edges, I actually make it kind of messy, and you'll see why. So now that it's done, you're going to go to your effects and adjustments and select Gaussian blur. So then you can adjust it by dragging on the screen. I'm just going to do about 7% and turn the opacity down for the grid line layer. Next, you're going to use your smudge tool. And with that, I'm going to be using my hair smudge brush. And then you're going to swipe back and forth to make these hair streaks where the hair starts in the scalp. And after, we're going to put these bumps so it gives the hair some volume. And now for the knots. So here I choose a different color so you guys can see what I'm doing more. Just creating these little donut shapes or like dookie shapes or whatever you want to call them. Also doing it in perspective. So this one I draw looks like it's only one donut shape, but as I work around the head, you can see that they're actually stacked on top of each other. Now we're going to click a new layer. We're going to tap the layer and select clipping mask. What that does is it clips the layer you're on to the one below it, meaning that you can't draw it anywhere outside the layer below. Using my hair texture brush, I'm going to go ahead and add some shading. Then we're going to Gaussian blur this layer as well. Just to change it back to the hair color, I'm going to go to color adjustments and go ahead and change it back to black. And if you'd like to see how I work with things like clipping mask and color adjustments with Procreate, make sure you subscribe and hit that bell so you can be notified when I drop my Procreate tips and tricks video. Next, on a new layer, we're going to give her some edges and baby hairs. And now I'm going to add some loose hairs. And on another new layer, I'm going to select a color for my light source and add some highlights. Also, side note, I like to use a few of these brushes for eyelashes on my characters. And then we're done our first hairstyle. Nice, simple. Okay, next. For hairstyle number 2, we're going to do a slick back ponytail with a bang on the side. So same thing, on a new layer, I'm going to draw the part. And then on another layer, I'm going to do the shape for the hair. Then we Gaussian blur both layers. And then like before, start smudging using my hair smudge brush. Next, we're gonna add some bumps to give her hair some volume. And then on a new layer, I'm gonna draw the shapes for the ponytail. And then also below all the layers, I'm gonna create a new layer for the bang on the other side of the head. And now that we basically have the hairstyle set up, we're gonna go ahead and add some shading. So go on a new layer and select a darker color. I like to paint in a stroking motion so you can create hair streaks. And then we basically do that everywhere. Then lastly, the highlights. So I'm gonna make a new layer and choose sort of a pinkish red color. And then same thing, soft brush strokes to create the hair streaks. Next, let's add some edges. I feel like with drawing hair, having the perfect brush that works for you really helps. Back in the day, I suffered with drawing hair because I always drew with very harsh lines. Yeah, so now you can see I've improved a lot and started to use softer strokes. Then last final touches, and that's it for hairstyle 2. Number 3 is going to be a ponytail as well, but this time with braids. Braids is something that I used to struggle with often, more so because I was super lazy and wasn't trying to draw each individual braid.
Oh my God!
Well, fast forward, now I've solved that issue by creating my own brushes. So let's go ahead and get started. Step 1, as always, draw your grid on a new layer. Step 2, let's draw our shapes and make them messy. Then Gaussian blur the shape layers. And smudge the hair using the smudge tool. And on a new layer, I'm gonna draw the bun shape for the ponytail. And let's Gaussian blur the bun as well. And now for the special part. Here you'll see I'll be using one of my braid brushes. In the pack, there's 3 different braid brushes and 4 different twist and lock brushes. So feel free to use whichever one you'd like for this style. And like before, I'm gonna use a different color so you guys can see clearly, but you can use whatever color you'd like. And as you can see, I'm drawing the braids along the shapes. Then let me just go ahead and turn this off real quick. And also around the bun to lock the ponytail in. And as you can tell, it's not always going to be perfect, so you can go to adjustments, and then all the way at the bottom you'll see liquify. Click that and make sure you're on the push effect, and you can maneuver it around to how you want it. Or another option, the eraser tool. And then here I'm just changing the color back to how I want it. Then of course do the same for the ponytail part. Next, to fill in the braids, I'm gonna go ahead and click the select tool at the top and select the area outside the braids. Then on Procreate, you wanna drag across the screen like so to adjust how much you want it to select. Then go ahead and press invert at the bottom. Now we have just the area within the braid selected, so create a new layer under the braids, tap the layer, and click fill layer. And now we have our braids filled. Be sure to zoom in to see if there's any areas that didn't fill in, and you could just fill them up with the brush. Now on the fill layer, I'm gonna select it and add some shading. Also, after drawing in the braids in the front, I like to create a new layer and draw some braids in the back. And we're gonna do the same process as we did before to fill them. And like I said before, don't be afraid to use the liquify tool to adjust some of the braids that are bothering you. So rather than just erasing them, you could just move them around. And now my favorite part, let's draw some edges. I also noticed some styles have this type of parting in the braids. I can't remember what they're called, but I like them, so let's do that on another layer. Then this last step is optional, but if you're feeling extra like me, you're gonna draw in the highlights for the braids. So on a new layer, I'm using my hair details brush. And we're done the braids.
Oh my God! Wow!
The next hairstyle is gonna be a little more simple, or sorry, should I say a lot more simple. We're gonna be just doing an afro. So using my brush pack, I'm gonna select one of my fro brushes, specifically the Curly Fro 2. And as you can see, this brush works very smoothly and has loose hairs that you'll often see with natural 4C hair. This is something I would definitely use if I was doing my own self-portrait on my own hair texture. And then once we have our shape, I'm gonna create a new layer and select clipping mask. Then using the same brush, I'm gonna add the highlights around the fro. And then I also add another layer for shading. It's very subtle, but it's there. And we're done the fro. Hairstyle number 5 is gonna be some short locks. So let's get started. Bright lines for the parting. Then add your shapes. Gaussian blur using the adjustments at the top. Then we're gonna make hair streaks using the smudge tool like before. And then also Gaussian blur your grid. Next, on a new layer, let's make this cylinder or cone-like shape. And Gaussian blur that as well. Now using one of my twist brushes, I'm gonna draw the locks starting at the parts and ending at the cylinder. Then I like to mix it up a bit, so even have one hanging at the bottom. And at the top, let's extend the locks some more. So here I just freestyle. I feel like when most black women have locks, they can pull off that kind of messy look to it, and it looks nice. And I want to take one of these out to make them hang as well. Next, on another layer, I'm gonna add some loose hairs. And now the edges. Then lastly, a little bit of highlights. And we're done. Great, so I hope you guys enjoyed this process. Using my method to draw hair on black women, I drew 4 extra hairstyles. The tutorials for how I made these other hairstyles is available on my Patreon, so you can click the link in my description to get that. But otherwise, let me know in the comments which hairstyle is your favorite. And if you made it to the end, thank you. And be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. If you decide to follow along with or without my brush pack, I'd love to see your results. So feel free to tag me on Instagram, Twitter, or TikTok. But until next time, peace out, guys.